And Minister, you're welcome in to join us here this afternoon. The recent elections were stolen by false promises from Fine Gael to fix the migrant crisis in this country. The most egregious part of this theft, above all, is the destruction of tents and the removal of the few possessions of people who come to our shores in a daft PR exercise to pretend that this government is serious about migration. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Need to take a point of order.
I don't believe a member is entitled to make an
need to resume your seat.
I don't believe a member is entitled to make an allegation.
I can't hear both of you at the same time. Senator Keogan, you need to resume your seat while I hear the point of order.
I don't believe a member is entitled to level an accusation of theft or stealing against other members in the chamber, and she should withdraw that remark.
That is not a point of order.
I'm advised it is a political charge and therefore not directed at members of the chamber. Senator Keogan.
We have local and national Indigenous problems in relation to migration. Creating such a radical overhaul of legislation based on orders from Brussels cannot work well on this issue. It is simply too complex. Ireland should cooperate with Brussels on sensible migration policy. However, NGOs such as Migrants Rights Centre Ireland, the Irish Refugee Council and the NACS, the Migrants and Refugee Rights Council, all oppose this pact, which suggests this is not the way to cooperate with EU or neighbouring countries. The government's parties are the only ones prepared to ignore the wishes of the Irish people, who want to see the Irish national interests put before the so-called international obligations. As of today, June the 19th, we have 10,100 IPA applications. We have 4,100 Ukrainian temporary applications this year. We're heading for 30,000 this year. And you only have to look out that window there to see that this government is failing. You only have to look out at the tents across from Merrion Square to know that it is chaos that you're creating. Denmark, our EU neighbour, will not be part of this pact and has many positive approaches we could implement at national level. This includes measures such as mandatory residence in designated centres for asylum seekers and strict eligibility criteria for family reunification. Instead of granting long-term or permanent residence permits, Denmark often issues temporary permits, which are periodically reviewed and can be revoked if conditions in the home country improve. Applicants for Danish citizenship or residence must meet rigorous integration requirements, including language proficiency and employment criteria. Regardless of whichever party Irish voters opted for in the recent European and local elections, Irish migration policy for the next decade is quietly being decided. We will not be able to reverse this decision. As members of this House well know, the purpose of this pact is to centralise power at the EU level under the guise of providing a bloc with a minimum set of standards to manage the asylum crisis that is only set to deteriorate in the coming years. Under the terms of the pact, Ireland will be allotted a set number of asylum seekers to subsidise or indeed house dependent on our total GDP, a figure which colleagues will admit fluctuates violently per annum due to the influence of foreign direct investment. Contrary to the rhetoric from the Department of Fine Gael Press Office, the Migration Pact is in fact a rush piece of legislation badly suited to Ireland, only crossing the legislative finish line due to a political need for it to be approved before the sitting of the next European Parliament and the prospect of more populist MEPs. Minister, bringing in uncapped, low-skilled and even no-skilled workers with people with no language skills does not add to us as a nation. It gives us the illusion the economy is growing, but it is spreading the cost base more finely, causing a service strain and continues to compound the housing supply crisis. Social welfare programmes, healthcare, housing and other supports are badly needed at this moment in time. We can only expect higher public spending and more cuts in services and ultimately higher taxes for those of us contributing to the exchequer. Uncapped migration makes it harder for low-skilled workers to earn a living wage. More workers means more demand on services, thus limiting the spending power of these economic migrants who will live in substandard earning and living conditions. This is the perfect condition for people to turn to crime, to make the best of a tough situation in a country as a new arrival in the asylum system. Stop robbing the Irish people of their right to discuss border protection, their right to criticise decades of government mismanagement. Stop robbing the Irish people of democracy. Start listening to the polls and the people. This will be the legacy of this Fine Gael government. You will be forever known as the administration of failed migration policies and willful disregard for the people's concern on this issue that will ultimately result in more crime, more unsafety and more uncertainty for the prosperity and well-being of our society.
Thank you, Senator. Your
Minister,
time has elapsed.
If
Thank
you are,
you. You need to. I have been more than generous in allowing for the time that you lost due to a point of order.
are not serious about fixing this migration policy.
Senator, you need to resume
People
your seat.
are wondering if the Fine Gael or the politicians are serious about appeasing the EU Commission to ensure they don't waste any CV boosting opportunities for a job in Brussels when you all are finally turfed out next general election.
Commence your time, please.